Duncan, when you look at the series and sort of look what's happened against the Bucks, do you take it as they're a different team than you played in last season's playoffs, or do you sort of figure you have enough of a read because you also played this new roster 3 times this season?
No, I definitely think they're a different team. This is a different year, obviously. I think, for example, 2 of the times we played them was so long ago earlier in the year. I think even since then, they're probably a different team, and we certainly feel like we're a different team as well. So, thinking that, whatever, something's going to happen in the series because of what happened last year is truthfully, it doesn't really matter. This is a new year, a new opportunity, and, we just got to control what we can control and go out there and do our best to do our jobs.
Thank you.
Next, we go to Malika Andrews.
Hey, Duncan, kind of looking really big picture for a second. This has been almost like 2 seasons in one. It's just been something that's so continuous, especially for you guys going so deep into the bubble. Oftentimes people talk about vets needing to rest in the offseason, but for young guys, that can be so pivotal for development. We see body shifts, we see changes. What have you had to do to kind of make up for that? And what has that been like to just have it be one sort of continuous season without that extra time to grow?
It's certainly been a challenge. We're not the only team going through it. We're not the only group of young players going through it. I mean, you kind of alluded to it. Obviously, there's a lot of benefits of having an off season where you can kind of take a couple steps back and really evaluate what you need to work on and really attack it head on. This off season was abbreviated for us. Obviously, it's pretty well documented, but it just makes the day in and day out all the more important. The emphasis on when you can get work in, whether it be before or after practice or anything like that. Taking advantage of those opportunities, and then also, utilizing opportunities like being able to watch film, stuff that's not as, taxing on your body, and, developing, throughout the course of a season, which, I feel like as a group we've done, but also individually, I feel like I've been able to do. But, we haven't had the luxury of having an off season where you can really, kind of tactically approach your improvement. But, it's just kind of the nature of this year.
Have you had, specifically, have you noticed any uptick in oh yeah, I feel like I'm watching more film, or I'm trying to do more of these workouts, or any of that sort of thing because of that?
Truthfully, I generally try to keep my routine pretty much the same. So, maybe a little tweaks here and there, adjustments, but, pretty much dating back to last year, I try to just kind of keep my work the same, make sure I'm staying consistent with my reps. And, probably the biggest thing is for me personally, just kind of adjusting to how people are guarding me and acknowledging that and watching it on film first. And then, being creative and coming up with adjustments and then applying that in the limited, player development time we do have.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Next we go to Jason Jackson.
Duncan, playing off of that countering and recountering and counter-countering dynamic, because you're such a lethal weapon because of the majority of your scoring comes with an extra point. You probably play the most chess than anybody else out there. I know guys are working with you in that space. How much of that is a part of the specific game plan that you have to keep in mind against this Bucks defense?
Oh, it's crucial. Obviously when you go into a playoff series, the scouting, the attention to detail, everything ramps up. So, anything that I like to do or maybe have had success against them or just generally this year, the objective becomes how do you take that away? And, we do the same thing for their personnel as well. Obviously, you're never able to take everything away in its entirety, but, maybe you key in on one thing. And then that's where it kind of becomes my job or all of our jobs, the coaching staff. Like you said, I rely on guys to get me open and free me up and give me space. Guys like Bam, Trevor, Jimmy, all those guys to set good screens or create overreactions, which can then lead to an opportunity for me. So it's a collaborative effort. It's not just one person, going to the drawing board and trying to come up with solutions, but we're all kind of in this together.
And what has been your view of this extra time that usually isn't here to prepare because you did succeed and you didn't have to participate in the play, and therefore allowing this week of partial rest and full crank up?
Oh, it's been great. I feel like in many ways, this is the first time this year when we've all kind of been able to really take a breath and evaluate kind of what we've done and also where we need to go and be specific about that. So obviously the game planning has been the priority, maintaining that kind of edge that we had really towards the end of the regular season and just really bringing that into game one.
All right, next we go to Tim Reynolds.
Dunk. 5 guys started every game for their team this year, you being one of them. What did that durability mean to you?
It means a lot. It's something that I take a lot of pride in, being reliable in that sense. And, I think reliability is a skill. I think persistence and just continuing to show up is a skill that you can develop and hone. And it's, in many ways, I feel like it's kind of been indicative of what's made me successful in my career. I'm not always perfect. I'm not always making shots or doing what I need to do. But, one thing I always pride myself on is showing up. And I think that, particularly in a season like this, with all the protocols, I also understand that a lot of that stuff, you can control what you can control, but outside of that, like there are other stuff that have held guys out that are outside of their control. So I'm also appreciative and thankful, and just feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to go out there and compete 72 times this year for this organization and to wear this jersey for my teammates and also the fans.
On a little different note, there were more, obviously there were more threes per game this year. That record went down again, for like the 10th consecutive year or whatever, but we saw more guys shooting it from like 34, 35 and deeper. You're not really in that mold. Like you don't go beyond 30 too often. Is it just not something that appeals to you? Like why, if one of the best shooters in the world, like why, I guess, why are you not, trying to be, from the letters or whatever they call it, why does that just not speak to you to go out that far?
I think a big part of it is, getting shots that are kind of within the flow of what we do. I think the deep ones that I do shoot tend to be in transition, ones where I'm kind of stepping into it and get hit aheads and I'm able to take advantage of some additional space, guys getting back in transition. But, a lot of my looks are coming right off that 3-point line, whether it be handoffs or catch and shoot actions or, driving sprays, that sort of thing. So, I think it's more so than anything that it's just kind of, I really try to play within what we're trying to accomplish as a team. The confidence side of me thinks I'm capable all the way from back there, but at this point, that hasn't, like you said, necessarily been required. So you never know. I think it's definitely an emphasis, maybe going into next season or this off season, just continuing to get more and more comfortable from out there.
Thanks, Duncan.
Yeah.
All right, next we go to Cooper Moorhead.
Okay, I know there were a couple of instances before, namely Toronto in those seeding games, but was the Milwaukee series one of the first times that you really felt, specifically game plan for?
You mean the Milwaukee series last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say it was the first. I mean, like anything, there's levels. And I felt it really ramp up throughout the course of last season. Early on, guys were taking a body off, and I could pretty much get, just kind of like your basic drive and spray 3. Guys were rotating off me, all that sort of stuff. And as the year went on, I started to see less and less of that. And then, probably about halfway around All-Star break, I started to see more teams game planning to actually take away what I was trying to do. And, that was kind of the start. And then from there, it just ramps up higher and higher. So, yeah, the seeding games, some teams did some good stuff. And, a lot of it becomes like, watching film and a team seeing that a certain coverage was successful against me and then them trying to implement it. So it kind of compounds in that sense. And obviously, when you get into a playoff series, the familiarity is at an all-time high. So I certainly noticed it in that Milwaukee series. It's and then of course on down the line, in the conference finals and finals as well. And pretty much from the jump, this year it was a lot of those same coverages as I saw in the playoffs. So you could point to the Milwaukee series and say at that time it was like the most game planned I had probably been. But I think it just kind of has built over time.